Okay, now see this problem. Obtain the initial basic feasible solution by Vogel'S approximation method. Okay, we can solve this problem by using Vogel'S approximation method for the given table. So in this table, how many origins we are having? 4 origins, O1 to O4, and how many destinations we are having? D1 to D4. That means 5 destinations we are having. Okay, now what is the first step for Vogel'S approximation method? We have to find out the difference in rows and difference in columns for the difference between two cheapest cells. Suppose if you take this column 1, destination D1, what are the two cheapest cells we are having? Among 12, 8, 1 and 10, what are the two cheapest cells? 1 and 8. So among 1 and 8, what is the difference we are having? 7. That we have to write here. That is the difference in the column between two cheapest cells. Next, among destination D2, in the second column, what are the two cheapest cells? 1 and 4. So what is the difference between 1 and 4 we are having? 3. That we have to write here. Similarly, in the third column, what are the two cheapest cells? 4 and 6. 4 and 6. What is the difference between 4 and 6? 2. Next, in the destination D4, that means fourth column, what are the two cheapest cells? 5 and 6. What is the difference between 5 and 6? 1. Next, in the fifth column, what are the two cheapest cells? 7 and 1. So among what is the difference between these two? 7 and 1? 6. So these are the differences in the columns. Similarly, in the rows also we have to find out the differences. Okay. In the first row, from 12 to 9 values, what are the two cheapest cells? 4 and 5. What is the difference between 4 and 5? 1. That we have to write here. Similarly, in the second row, what are the two cheapest cells? 1 and 6. What is the difference between 1 and 6? 5. Next, in the third row, what are the cheapest cells? 1 and 4. So what is the difference between 1 and 4? 3. In the fourth row, what are the two cheapest cells? 6 and 1. What is the difference between 6 and 1? 5. That we have to write here. This is the first step. We have to find out the difference between rows and columns between the two cheapest cells from origin to destination. That is the first step. What is the second step? Identify the highest difference. So among these difference values, what is the highest value? 7 is the highest difference. That means we have to select this difference now. So now what is the third step? First assignment is made to the cell which is having cheapest cell for in the highest row. Highest difference row, cheapest cell isn't it? That we have to select. Okay. So in this destination D1 having the highest difference, in this highest difference column, which one is the cheapest cell we are having? 1 is the cheapest cell. That means we have to assign the number for this cell O3 D1. Okay. For this O3 D1 cell, what is the capacity we are having? 30. And what is the requirement we are having? 40. Among 40 and 30, what is the smallest value? 30. That we have to allocate here in this O3 D1. Okay. We have to allocate, and that should be subtracted in the requirement, and the remaining should be written in brackets. Okay. Now if you see the O3, this is completely satisfied. According to the fourth step, we have to eliminate this row. We have to eliminate this row. Why? Because it is completely satisfied. Why? Because here we have assigned the value as 30 and the capacity of that row is also having 30. That means it is completely satisfied. We have to eliminate this row. And next again we have to go for the same procedure from 1 to 4th step. Now what is the first step? Again we have to do, we have to find out the differences. So to again, what is the difference between two cheapest cell in the first column? What are the first column values we are having? 12, 8, 10. Among these 12, 8 and 10, what are the two cheapest cells? 10 and 8. What is the difference between 10 and 8? 2. Next, among in the second column, what are the two cheapest cells? 4 and 1. What is the difference between those two? 3. Next, among the third column, what are the difference between two cheapest cells? 9 and 6. That is 3. Next, in the fourth column, what are the two cheapest cells? 5 and 6. 5 and 6. The difference between 5 and 6 is 1. Next, in the fifth column, what are the difference between two cheapest cells? 7 and 1. The difference between these two is 6. Next, similarly, the row, in this row, first row, what are the two cheapest cells? 4 and 5. Difference between 4 and 5 is 1. Similarly, what is the difference between two cheapest cell in the second row, that is 1 and 6 is 5. Similarly, in the fourth row, what is the difference between two cheapest cells? 6 and 1 is 5. We have to write. Okay. Now this is the first step completed again. Okay, this is eliminated in the first process. Now among these second difference values, which one is the highest value? 6 is the highest value. So in this sixth, nothing but in this fifth column, we have to select the cheapest cell. Among these 9, 7 and 1 is the cheapest cell. So what is the requirement of this column? 40, and for this row 50. Okay, so requirement is 40, capacity is 50, smallest value is 40. That means we have to fill this cell with respect to 40, and the remaining should be, and that value should be subtracted in the capacity, and remaining should be written in brackets. Now if you see this destination D5 column, it is completely satisfied now. So filled with 40, and also requirement is also 40. That means this column is now completely exhausted and it will be removed again. Next, again we have to go for the same procedure. Next, coming to this procedure, again we have to take the differences. What is the difference between 12, 8 and 10? The smallest values are 8 and 10. The difference between 10 and 8 is 2. Next, again in the second column, 4 and 1 are the smallest cells. That means difference between these two is 3. Next, in the third column, again the smallest cells are 9 and 6, cheapest cells. Between 9 and 6, the difference is 3. Similarly, in the destination D4, that means fourth column, what are the cheapest cells? 5 and 6. What is the difference between these two? 1. Similarly, in the rows, so 4 and 5 are the cheapest cells in the first row. That means the difference between these two is 1. Next, similarly, what is the difference between 1 and 6? 5 in the second row, and in the fourth row 6 and 9 are the cheapest cells. What is the difference between these two? 3. Now in the third differences, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 5, 3. What is the highest difference? 5 is the highest difference. And now we have to take this row. In this row, what is the cheapest cell we are having? 1 is the cheapest cell. That means we have to assign the value for this cell. Okay. What is the capacity of that cell? Capacity is 45. And what is the requirement? 20. So among 45 and 20, 20 is the smallest value that we have to fill here, and the value should be subtracted in the 45. That should be written in brackets. Okay. Now if you see this destination D2 column, it is now completely satisfied or exhausted. Now this it will be removed. Okay. Next, again go for the same procedure. So what is the difference between the two cheapest cells in the first column? 10 and 8 is taken as 2. Now again in the third column, 6 and 9 is 3. 5 and 6, 1. Similarly in this row, 9 and 5 are the cheapest cells. Difference is taken as 4. Now 8 and 6 are the cheapest cells. Now the difference is 2. Next, 6 and 9 are the cheapest cells. Among these the difference is 3. Now in the fourth differences, 2, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3. What is the highest difference? 4. That means we have to take this row, highest difference row, and in this we have to take the cheapest cell. Cheapest cell is 5. That means we have to assign the number in this O1 D4 cell. So what is the requirement of this D4? 30, and capacity of O1 is 55. So among 50, 30 and 55, which one is the smallest value? 30 is the smallest value. That means we have to assign the number 30 here, and the 30 should be subtracted in this capacity, and the remaining value should be written in brackets, 25. Okay. Now if you see this destination D4 column, now it is completely satisfied. Now it will be eliminated. Okay. Next, again we have to go for the same procedure. Again we have to take the differences. So what are the two cheapest cells in this first column? 10 and 8. Difference is 2. Again in this third column, what are the two cheapest cells? 9 and 6. Difference is 3. Again in the first row, 12 and 9. The difference is 3. Next, again in the second row, 8 and 6, the difference is 2. Again in the fourth row, 10 and 6, the difference is 4. Now in this differences, what is the highest difference? 4 is the highest difference, and we have to take this row, and in this row we have to take the cheapest cell among 10 and 6. 6 is the cheapest cell, that means we have to assign the number in this cell. Okay, what is the requirement of this cell? 50. And what is the requirement of this cell? Capacity 10. Capacity is 10, requirement is 50, that means 10 should be written here, and that should be subtracted from this 50, and it should be written in brackets. Okay, now if you see this row O4, it is completely satisfied now. 10 plus 40 is equal to 50. It is completely satisfied, and it will be eliminated now. And for the remaining rows and columns, again we have to find out the differences. So now for the first row, first column, they are having 12 and 8 numbers. Among these, the difference is 4. Again in the third column, 9 and 6, the difference is 3. So now coming for the rows, 12 and 9, what is the difference? 3. And again for the second row, 8 and 6, what is the difference? 2. Among these 4, 3, 3, 2, what is the highest difference? 4. That means we have to take this column. In this column, what is the cheapest cell? 8 is the cheapest cell. That means we have to assign the value for this O2D1 cell. So for this O2D1, what is the requirement we are having? 10. What is the capacity we are having? 25. Among 10 and 25, which one is the smallest value? 10. That means 10 should be filled here, and that should be subtracted from this 25, that is written in brackets 15. Okay, now if you see this column, 10 plus 30, 40, total requirement is 40. That means this first column is completely satisfied, and it will be eliminated. And for the remaining columns and rows, we have to do the same process. So now we are having one column, that is third column, 9 and 6, the difference is 3. And for the rows, we are having 9 here, we are having 6 here. Okay, among 3, 9 and 6, having the highest number is 9. That means we have to take this row first. In this row, the cheapest number is only having one number, that is 9. That means we have to assign this value for this O1D3 cell. So for O1D3 cell, what is the requirement we are having? 40. And what is the capacity we are having? 25. Among these 40 and 25, 25 is the smallest value. That should be filled here, and that should be subtracted from 40, and it will be written in brackets here, 15. Okay, now if you see O1 row, and it is now completely satisfied. 25 plus 30 is 55. That means we have to eliminate this one, and remaining only one cell now we are having, that is O2D3, and now we have to assign this cell. So what is the capacity of this O2D3? 15. What is the requirement we are having? 15. That means 15 should be written here. Okay, now this row is also column is also completely satisfied, it will be eliminated. Again similarly, this row is also completely satisfied, it will also be eliminated. Now all columns and rows are completely exhausted. Now with this we have completed all allocations to the cells. Now we have to find out the initial total cost of transportation. Now coming to see here, the number of positive cells, the number of positive cells is equal to m plus n minus 1. That is, number of rows are 5, columns are 4, minus 1, that is equal to 8. How many cells here having? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, number of positive cells are 8. This one is also positive cell, this is also a positive cell. Okay, so how many positive cells? Number of circled cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So number of positive cells are 8. According to the formula, it is also 8. Now this is initial basic feasible solution. This is initial basic feasible solution. Now initial cost of transportation. Initial cost of transportation. Initial cost of transportation is equal to 25 into 9 plus 30 into 5. We have to take the positive cell numbers, plus 10 into 8 plus 20 into 1 plus 15 into 6 plus 30 into 1 plus 10 into 6 plus 40 into 1. Now this is the initial cost of transportation. We have to get this value now. Okay, what is the initial cost of transportation for this? 695 rupees. Okay, so for this problem the initial cost of transportation is 695 rupees by using Vogel'S approximation method.